we've tended to have an east-west axis to our foreign policy, and only episodically have we had a north-south axis. How is the United States going to be able to match up with 300 million people against 1 billion people in China or 1 billion people in India economically? You just can't. But we are 1 billion strong in the Americas. 1 billion strong in the Americas, we can match up economically if we really focus on doing more and more together. We probably spent about $2.3 billion last year to deal with the unaccompanied minor problem. So we can either not make an investment and continue to see waves of unaccompanied minors and spend a couple $2 billion a year, or we can make a targeted investment in the Northern Triangle countries with the knowledge that we've seen what a targeted investment in Colombia has done, and we've seen what economic advancement in Mexico has done to net migration. So if we make the investment the right way, then we would have some reason based on experience to believe that there could be an outcome that would mean we wouldn't be spending $2.3 billion a year on the unaccompanied minor.
What would, from the Senate perspective, you and your colleagues like to see from Central America so that an aid package such as this, if it were passed, would be the most effective that it possibly could be?
So I would say the unification of the three nations in a plan is good, but security sector investments up front are important, and then probably some infrastructure investments as well that could start to create, maybe begin with construction type jobs and then raise a platform for more employment for folks, really important. You certainly need civil society, education reform, those are really important too. But I think if you can see some security advances happening quickly, the Honduran murder rate's already coming down, that could create a confidence in folks on the Hill to make it a continuing investment, not just a one-time investment. I was happy to see when the foreign ministers came up this week that they brought a lot of private sector partners with them, and in some ways the El Salvadoran private sector partners were the most vigorous. They actually view, that one of them was describing to me, they view Plan Central America not only as a way to maybe do something good between the U.S. and the region, they view it as this is going to give us an opportunity to really build a better relationship with the government of El Salvador than we've had for a very long time. Because they really need us at the table to determine how to make these investments work. And if they want the U.S. to make these investments, they got to have us at the table, and that will build a closer relationship.
We're going through now a process to try to conclude a negotiation for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which includes some countries of Latin America, Mexico, Chile, and Peru. Mm-hmm. Give us a sense of your thoughts about that process, but also, and this is why I'm linking it to the Central America question, mm-hmm. because there are potential impacts of TPP in Central America.
Mm-hmm. Labor tends to look at trade as what are you going to lose next? What manufacturing job will you use next? Now in Virginia, post-NAFTA, our economy's gotten better. We've certainly lost some manufacturing and other facilities because of trade deals, but we've also gained a tremendous amount with a port and an international airport. So we've been net stronger as a result of trade. But I understand that not every community in the United States looks at it the same way. You get into Central America, you get into Honduras, and you really see a challenge. There's about 140,000 Hondurans that work in maquilas, the light manufacturing, usually textile facilities that are related to American businesses. And I had an earnest plea from the Chamber of Commerce in Honduras, if you're thinking about doing a $1 billion investment in Central America to help us, but then you do something in a trade deal that enables Vietnam to undercut us and we lose our maquila sector, we lose 150,000 jobs, you might as well just not do the Plan Central America investment, because that investment positive would get dwarfed by the negative if a trade deal would allow nations in the Pacific Rim to undercut us, and they're particularly worried about Vietnam. There are very troubling human rights issues with Cuba, and we have diplomatic relations with an awful lot of nations who have very significant human rights problems. And we use those diplomatic relations as a channel for dialogue. And that doesn't mean that the other country always does what we want, nor do we do what they want. But to have normal relationships has just always struck me as just basic and fundamental. In the first hearing we had in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee this year on this topic, I was struck by the fact that the real center of gravity on both sides of the aisle was to support what the White House is doing. And so there are some, some passionate people who are opposed, but I do think the center of gravity is with what the administration's efforts. But I would suspect the timing of particular relief in Congress will be pretty close to what the administration and State Department thinks to be helpful.